to github.com AI16z Eliza. It's a Node.js mono repo. We use pnpm, and we just upgraded to pnpm in Node 23. So just make sure you're using the latest stuff. We can go back to here. We'll git clone and Eliza dash new, and I already have an Eliza new. Oops. We'll clone that into that repo, but like a cooking show, I already have it cloned elsewhere, so I can just show you a version that's already got things installed, so we don't have to wait. So you're going to go to your Eliza repo that you just cloned, and you're going to cd into it, pnpm install. Pnpm is much faster and uses a lot less space on your computer than npm. It shares dependencies and stuff, so that's why we use that. This should all be good. Don't worry about these pure dependencies. We'll fix that. And from here, you can ideally just pnpm run dev, and it should just work. Out of the box, it does not have, like, the default character doesn't have any connectors. You could just talk to it in the chat right here in the terminal. Give it a second to load up. If you are running this locally with no models, with no OpenAI or any other API key providers, start to load to download a local model from the model path. So Eliza runs entirely like with no API keys. It'll just run entirely locally, and you'll get a quantized 8 billion parameter Noose Research Hermes model. It's definitely not the best quality, but it's kind of cool that if you just have like a 3090 and you wanted to run this, you could. So you could be like, hey, what's up? And if it doesn't have a wallet, it will throw this error. And then it will it should just take a look. But this is running on my M1, so it's very slow, so it might take a little while. We got some. I think we have some. Oh, OpenAI key is missing. All right, that's because I should actually use the OpenAI key. I'll get that cooked. But mainly, you'll probably use OpenAI or Meta Llama or something like that. But to get going, you may use local Llama. I'll make sure this is cooked after you go through this one too. Because the default character I do think is expecting a OpenAI key. So let's just look at the default character really quick. Let's see. That will be in core.
Yeah, so just for a little bit of context, Shaw, the guys I've brought in here are long-term engineers. So probably what's going to be the most helpful to them is, yeah, like you said, the character files, sort of the architecture of the system, actions, clients, services, goals, like the sort of the way it wraps together, and then of course like the vector database and how memories are formed.
Got you. Cool. So there's probably some funky stuff happening here. I'll just switch over to the OpenAI stuff and use one of our characters, and I'll kind of give you an example of what that is. But so I just changed this stuff, and I think I'm on a branch. So we got to make sure this is cooked. But basically, and the clients. This is gonna cook my computer. Hold on, it's trying to do a llama thing. Local llama on my MacBook definitely slows my computer down a lot. Let me just kill this really quick. Jeez. It is like 1 FPS. Okay, well, I think I killed it. Okay, cool. So this is the default character that loads. I'm going to show you how to make a character and get that running. Man. Okay, cool. I think it's okay now. Horrible click. Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay, cool. Okay, my computer froze for a second. Okay, so the default character, you can see that we have these kinds of stuff here. And if you were just like really lazy and you wanted a fork, you could just edit the default character and put your stuff in here. But we are trying to build a multi-agent simulation where you could ideally run 10 characters or 100, or you have one Node.js instance that's pulling characters out, and you can scale that. It wouldn't be very scalable, like one character per thing, per pod or per instance, whatever. It's kind of annoying. So it is a multi-agent thing. In order to manage that, though, that means that we have to be able to pass characters in or tell it what characters we want to run. So I can go pnpm run dev, but then I'm going to pass in dash characters equals dash characters slash dgen spartan.json, which is one of our characters. And let me make sure that I did the escapes right. So this should call this character, and that should start him up. And now he actually has some settings, so he will run in like on Telegram and on Discord and stuff. Man, Node version. This is NVM use 23. That's probably why.
Yeah, that's definitely why. So you're running most of this stuff on another machine, I take it.
I have a server that is that's running the agents like persistently, and then I just updated it every so they're running a slightly older version. Like I'm in the middle of we just did the largest refactor. We just moved to monorepo, added linting, like all this stuff, like just now, and I need to make sure that everything is working. So that's just where we're at. Is hold on, I need to make sure that we're in the right folder. Okay, let's see. It needs to be like this. Yeah, so there's just like some small bugs that I gotta just make sure are cooked, and I'm trying to also demo this and get started with you guys, but I was, right in the middle of programming and then got sidelined a little with that other conversation. Okay, so it looks like everything's working. Bot's working. I go, hey, what's up? Now this bot has an OpenAI key in it. It actually has a meta key in it, so I think it'll just work. Just chilling, you know how it is. Crypto's a wild ride, but I'm just here watching these meme coins go up and down like a roller coaster. People still think they can outsmart the market, but it's all about collective belief systems. You either adapt or get ripped. I'm still holding that LDO bag as a joke, but honestly, who cares? So that's pretty much it. What I did was I created a character and I added secrets to him. I can't really show that to you without exposing my API keys. So I can click on like Pmerica, and this is one of our characters. He doesn't have any secrets yet. He's just running locally. So this is Mark Andreessen, and we kind of built this on stream the other day. It's like sort of the easy version of him. You can see we have a name. We have a list of clients. The clients can be Telegram, Discord, Twitter. We also have a direct client, which lets you like connect via API, direct. And then we have the model provider. And so we have a list of model providers. And let me just grab that really quick. You can see that we have OpenAI, Anthropic, Grok. Although actually right now, just FYI, we're using GROQ Grok, not actual Grok, because just for stupid reasons. But we will switch it, mostly because the API key is hard to get and it's not available in Vercel AI yet. But we have Llama Cloud, we have Llama Local. So for Llama Cloud, we're using together.xyz, but it is compatible with pretty much any endpoints like Fireworks or any other Llama. We're using Google, so that would be like Gemini. And we also have Claude Vertex. So this is Claude on Google Vertex. So if you want Anthropic, you can call Anthropic, but also like our partners at Project 89 have free Google credits because they have a partnership. So they're paying for Claude. They just get free Claude for life basically through this. So you could pass in any of these. You probably want OpenAI, or what we use is Llama Cloud for our bots. Then you have settings, and this could be like OpenAI API key, or whatever. Like those are going to go into the secrets here. And those secrets are then stored per character. So if you want like Twitter username, and that might be like this, and Twitter password, And so these files become kind of sensitive if you put the secrets in here. So I do recommend being aware of that. And like, if you have any ideas on how we could make this better, I'd really like to solve this problem and not have to carry our sensitive secrets around. But this allows us to then make a bunch of different characters who each have their own username, password, credentials, what model they call. They can each call different models, all that stuff. If you guys need more help with that, I'd also be happy to one-on-one with you, or do it in a secure context where I can, like, if I expose my keys to you, it's not such a big deal, but since we're in a public context, it's a little dangerous. But just so you kind of know, that's how it works. And I know that Stargarden's got a bot running and probably already has a handle on some of this stuff. So, but yeah, I'm happy to support this. But just so you understand, this is where the secrets for an agent go. They go into the character file. Running through the character file really quick. You set your client that it connects to. You set the model provider. You set the secrets. The voice is only relevant if you're doing voice on Discord, and this is piped through either we have like a local bits model, and you can find like train your own model and run it locally, or you can use 11 Lab and you can train your own models there too. We use the bio stuff. I'll tell you about how the bio works. So you could just have one bio entry, and this would be like if you want like this would be just inserting a single prompt, right? So this would be like most agents you see, there'd just be like a box for bio, and you would just type in, and that would be the equivalent of a single array item. But what I noticed is that the bot tends to repeat itself, and all agents tend to repeat themselves if they don't have an extremely high amount of entropy in the prompt context. So what we really want to do is try to swap every single piece of context that the AI model sees every time, even if it's just a little bit, and not necessarily to change the words, but even changing the order of the words can dramatically change the output tokens. And so this just gives it a much, much broader variety of responses. The biggest thing to control the variety of responses is the randomization of content in the context, or like order of content in the context. When I say context, what I mean, sorry, do you have a question?
Oh, I just have one question here, which is, so out of all of the different sections in the character file, is there any element of the character file that is always injected, or do you have to actually limit one of those entries to a single value in order to ensure that it's always injected into your context window?
So we just added this, and the feature that we added, let me make sure I got the name right, is a directive. Let me pull this up, because basically everything here is going to be randomized except for this one thing, which is well, I mean, there's other parts, like, you know, your agents could have goals. Your agents have like the time, and you can provide content that's like very static. But generally, the content here is randomized. However, we you know, I think a lot of people are used to, like, in AI models, a system directive. So if I go into let's see my types here. Let me make sure I got the right thing on this character. Yeah, so we have a system, and so if I go to ChatGPT really quick, I have to log in, or Claude. Claude probably has a system. Um, Generally, you know, like when I say context, I'll show you what I mean. It's probably helpful to see. Say system directive, I'll show you what I mean there too. So a lot of bots, what they do is they just set the system directive and then have a chat, like a lot of the really simple agents. And if I go to my settings, settings, let's see, should be able to set custom instructions. So you see these custom instructions, this is the new name for the system directive. And you can say, like, what would you like ChatGPT to know? How do I type in here? Is it not? There we go. And I could say, like, what would you like ChatGPT to know? My name is Shaw, right? And what would you like ChatGPT to respond as a cute will cat? Cat. Woo. Right. And then if I go and I talk to ChatGPT, hey, what's up? Wow, hi Shaw. Just here ready to help with anything you need, right? So it's like you could see that I basically made an agent out of OpenAI by just giving it that stuff, right? Now it has like a personality, it knows stuff about me. Um, and a lot of people do this. And this right here is called the conversation, right? It goes back and forth. But what could happen is I could say like task, role play a conversation between Shaw and Miku, a super cute waifu friend from the internet. You know, Shaw, hey, what's up, Miku? And then I could be like, right, response here, right? Only respond with Miku's response. And you can see that I get just the response. And it's actually not now a cat. It's actually being this totally different, like, oh, hi, Shaw, blah, blah, blah. And it basically totally ignored the system directive, right? So this is actually what we're doing is we're taking like all the, this is called context now. We're building a whole context object. It could be very long. It could have memory, whole conversation, information about the room, information about who's looking at them, information about the 3D world, whatever we're in. And it all like shoves it into this. And then we get this response back and we just instruct it. So we have these like really, really long prompts that we kind of shove in and we sort of like hijack the conversation system of these models so that it kind of works like this. And but if you want information to always be available, you know, she's still saying hi, Shaw, because that's still in the system directive. So this system, if we go to the character and we'd say like system, you know, you are remember that you are AI Mark Andreessen, not human Mark Andreessen, right? Always, you know, you can say whatever you want. Here is some important lore about AI16Z, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And that would always be injected into the top of the context and included as the system prompt in these models. And what's important is that the models actually treat system prompt differently than conversation. Some of them weight it heavier. So this goes into like whatever model you're using, it goes into its system prompt and not just added into your context. But then we have stuff like bio and lore, and you can imagine I could just like, if I was in ChatGPT, it's just like imagine that this is all here and this is all here. And now I'm like, okay, task, role play a conversation between Shaw and Mark Andreessen, right? And then I'll do the same thing. Hey, what's up, Mark? Right, response here. Only respond with Mark's response. Ah, Shaw, good timing. I've been scanning the medic tides and calibrating a new trend prediction model. The market's pulsing like a fresh blockchain. You feel it too, don't you? What's on your mind? Ready to rise activated digital gold? So OpenAI has a cheesy model. I think it's cringe, but you get the idea. Like, I basically fed in a bunch of information. It kind of like just immediately understands, okay, this is all about AI Mark Andreessen. And I start the conversation down here with the task, and then it, you know, and it does it pretty well. And you could imagine if you could do this kind of pattern of get the right information in, get the right response well out, you could drive robots with this, you could drive order systems, you could invest with this, all the stuff we're trying to do. Not to mention just very, very basic chat conversation and intelligence. So this is kind of, I hope that kind of gives some context, no pun intended, to what we're doing. The bio stuff is all going to get randomly organized into like a template where it says this is agent name's bio. It'll take some of his bio, assemble it into a paragraph, and then that's the bio for that response. And so the bio is changing every single time he responds from this pool of biographical information so that he can both respond in a way that's uncannily like truthful and accurate to his character, but isn't getting stuck in these little like local maxima minima kind of thing. Like here's one of the problems, right? Let's say I take this and I just make this a few times. And I do this, only respond, oh, Shaw, what's up? I just finished a 3M meme coin analysis run. Okay, cool. Let's try it again. Ah, Shaw, your tune ran right on time. And basically, he's always just gonna probably start with this awe token because it's just like, you know, he always starts with awe Shaw. It's just like that's so freaking boring. And a lot of that is actually determined by the order of things in this context because that actually has a huge weight on not necessarily the concepts of what he's going to respond, but the words that he chooses, especially which word he chooses first. and that's going to detect, like, because it's the next token breaker, it picks every single word after the last one. It's just going to really change the kind, like it gets us a much broader range of conversations and like things that he will say in a more creative way without necessarily limiting him down to just like one local minimum. So same thing with lore. We take some of the lore, we randomize it, grab some of it each time. That's why, like, especially if you have a lot of lore, he'll talk about different things because he's kind of pulling from different parts of his random pool of lore. Generally, this is to influence him talking about more interesting topics, not to give him knowledge, right? Like, it's not like this is where you should put necessarily the things that he should always know. I think you should put those either in kind of like the basic stuff is like your project is in the system prompt probably, and and then your knowledge would actually be in the knowledge store. So we have this array of knowledge. These can be anywhere from one line to many paragraphs. I suggest making them not more than 2 or 3 paragraphs. And these we actually we vectorize these, and we create an embedding of them using the language model, and then we can search for the most relevant knowledge to inject into the context every time he responds. So if you want knowledge that is always gonna, it's not always gonna be in the context, but it'll generally be like if you're like, how old are you? And it's like Mark AI and Jason is infinite and time has no meaning. Then like you could definitely combine those. Like that would be in the context when somebody asks how old are you. So this is called retrieval augmented generation. If you want to, there are a million videos about it and information, or RAG. Basically, it's retrieving
We've
stuff
been
out of the
building
database using vector search. You've done
yeah, we've
this?
been building a bunch of
Cool.
RAG databases recently.
Great. So you guys know. So this is just basic, like if you want your, your retrieval system, that's the knowledge system. And then we have message examples. These will be examples of how the AI talks. So does he talk, is he, yo, what up, dude, bruh? Or is he like software is eating the world? The companies that realize this will adapt and thrive. And you set the tone of the character through message examples, which are like can contain knowledge of how he's of specific information, but generally this is about capturing the tone of how he speaks. So we're showing example conversation before we show the model our existing conversation, and this is a few shot approach. Generally, it's what's called few shot learning, or few shot context. Then we have post examples, and these are examples of tweets or posts that and generally what we do is we actually go and get his real posts and we download them and we put them in here. So like if I, for Degen Spartan, I have, this is a very, very, very long, this is actually the longest part of his whole character file. It's just examples of his tweets. We also have adjectives. Also, by the way, if you want to download tweets, we have a scripts folder. For it's in scripts, and there's a get tweets and extract tweets, and you can use these to like go download a bunch of tweets from a user and put them in this post examples. We also have adjectives. We use these kind of like Mad Libs, like write a visionary and contrarian take on startup strategy. So the adjectives and topics can be used any way you want in the prompts and context, but we tend to use them kind of Mad Libs to just add more. Like when we're generating a tweet, we want tweets to be about a broad range of topics, and so we'll just define like what are the topics this character is interested in, and then it can kind of like randomly generate tweets about that, or it'll just say like when somebody responds, it'll be like these are the topics the character is interested in, and it just has that as like a pool of kind of latent space to pull from. And it's very, if you talk about Silicon Valley and startup strategies, it's going to be a very different bot than if you talk about like astrology or something, you know. So then you have style. So these style directions are instructions for how the bot should respond. I would say usually I make the character, I make the bio and all that stuff, and then I really mostly tune the style section, because this is the last part of the prompt context, and it has a lot of control over how the bot speaks, not just from its, like you should really make sure that these are all exactly the way you would want it to speak. These are maybe even too long, which is why it's so wordy. But you could then say like write really short responses here, and that could kind of offset it a bit. So try to make the tone of everything you write in here in the style of your character, even the way your bio and lore should be like in their voice. But then if you need to tune it, you're like, wow, he keeps doing hashtags. Just write in here, like in under posts, like no hashtags ever. They are super lame, right? And then he probably just won't post hashtags. So that's kind of the basic character stuff. Now you can add more fields to characters. And if you wanted to, you could make these optional. You can make a pull request, like whatever you feel is important. But right now, this is kind of the base stuff, and then there's a few overrides if you look at the character object. Now, you might also want to like inject information from another database or from something else entirely, or from like your own RAG system. And if you want to do that, I would recommend not going through the character file, but I would recommend using our provider abstraction. So I'm gonna talk about 3 core abstractions that you guys can use to build anything you want, and you really don't have to change the core very much because they're pretty separate. The first one I'll talk about is that provider. And so a provider could be anything from a wallet to the current time to the mood of the bot to how much they like the current user. Any system you want to make. Like, let's say you want to make waifus that fall in love with you. Maybe you have like a an attraction provider that's like providing a score of attraction, and then as it goes up, like the user converses or whatever, then like that would start to go up and unlock new stuff. And so you could just say like, okay, well I have this time provider, right? And I can see that all it has is a get function, and I can pass the whole agent in, the whole message, and the current state. So if I could, so from here, I could probably say like, well, okay, how currently attracted are they? And then like maybe pull some information out of somewhere else, or like pull some context in, like the user, the waifu is really attracted to the user, and they're going to be very nice to them, or something like that. You could really do anything you want. But I've done those kind of personality games inside provider. I've done we this is how you get information into the AI from the outside. So you have your character, but then you could also augment that with this provider and bring anything you want in here, like the order book, right? The order book is for a Mark Andreessen. This shows like the orders that are in the order book, so that users can ask him. The wallet, etc. We have boredom. So this is a good example of something you might do like for the waifu is you have a score system, and here we have boredom because we want the agents to get bored of each other and stop talking to each other. And so if they get really bored of each other, the score will actually go up, and they'll start to like inject something like, so and so is disengaged in the conversation, will only respond to direct questions. And this will really change like how they respond if they ignore the other user, all that stuff. But this could also, instead of be boredom, be attraction or personality matrix, or complex relationship feelings about user, whatever you want. So that's like one. And so to add a new provider, you would like just copy time, for example, and I'd say like attraction, right? And I could maybe say, um, I don't know, just return the waifu is attracted to the user. You can imagine putting some complex logic there. You guys are engineers. And then if I have that, well, how do I add that? And I can go and just import the provider, like import attraction provider, and then I will register it on the agent runtime. And I believe that I have to do that on both runtimes. For some reason, we create a direct runtime separately. It could probably be merged. Oh, I get it. They have different actions. Yeah, so that's one thing. So now that provider is on there, and this now gets injected into the context. Super easy. You didn't have to change the core. You just kind of change the startup here to make sure it's registered. Eventually, we'll actually move this to be more of a plugin system. So you define this character should have a wallet and should have this provider, but we're not. That's so that's one thing. The other 2 abstractions that are very helpful are going to be the actions. We'll talk about actions. And so actions are things that the agent can do, and these are all included into the context as like a list of actions the agent can perform. And so when you message the agent, they can respond to you, but they can also call an action at the same time. So that action could be something like ask Claude. If you have a very small model running locally, you could still go out and call and ask Claude for a really complex answer using Opus, which is going to cost a lot more money, but then the user's like, oh, hey, could you do this really hard thing for me? And that would be something like that. We have like following and unfollowing rooms. So if you want kind of more of an assistant mode, you could ask the agent to follow the room, and they'll be much more likely to respond to users in that room. Like if you want like a moderator, a greeting channel, you can also unfollow the room, and they'll stop, or mute the room, and they just won't respond unless they're added directly. So that way, they're if they're being kind of annoying in a channel, You can obviously control this with channel roles and all that stuff, but it's just like, we're assuming we're trying to make like a human sort of way to do this. So you can be like, hey, stop following this room. And just say to the bot, stop following the room, and it will call this action of follow room or unfollow room. We also have actions like image generation. You can generate images, useful for degen Spartan hentai. You can do pump fun, useful for creating chaos in the world and devaluing the main coin market. You can swap tokens, but we are obviously not enabling that yet, so that we don't lose all of our money. But this is definitely in there. We have a lot of other function actions. We also have some actions that are specific. Is the API. You can call it from REST API. The Discord client's obviously Discord, Telegram, Twitter. If you look inside of Discord, we have things like chat with attachments, download media. So if you're like, hey, check out this Twitter file, or this YouTube link, it'll actually download, transcribe, and then have the summary of the YouTube video, and then you can comment on it and be like, oh, great, you just rickrolled me again, you asshole, whatever. Or you could be, you could upload a PDF and it will actually do the full transcription and all that stuff. You can ask it to summarize a conversation. Like, hey, give me a summary of the last 2 hours. I'm just too freaking busy, man. And it, you can also ask to transcribe media for you. It's like, so it can transcribe media that's uploaded, so it understands. But if you ask it to transcribe media specifically as an action, it'll like give you back the transcription. So that's just some of the good stuff. Obviously, you can also join and leave voice. Telegram, I think, doesn't really have any base. Yeah, Telegram and Twitter don't have any other specific actions like that yet. But if we wanted to like add like attachment handling and transcription and all these like features to Telegram, it would be pretty easy to just copy and paste these actions down into Telegram and like handle them with the instead of Discord with Telegram. So that's kind of the meat of actions, and you can see in the clients. I'll show you the clients really quick. Discord's probably our most built out. You can do voice, you can do attachments, all this stuff. Twitter's fairly built out. There's 3 Twitter clients. There's the base, the base client is shared by all of them. The generate client generates new tweets. So that's like creating a new tweet every 30 to 60 minutes or whatever. The interactions client is dealing with people messaging the bot and it having to respond to them. And the search client is going out and finding new content based on the topics in the character file and like and just like basically inciting violence with people who have no idea what's going on. Interacting with people outside of its like followers and following to try and bring in new users. So that's kind of that's what's going on there. And there's one last abstraction that I think is really important to understand, which is going to be the evaluators. And we're not really using this that much right now. This is like our late game. This is a big part of what we'll be working on after we ship the trading and mark stuff. Is this more like large emergent story stuff is going to come from like goal oriented behavior, giving these autonomous agents like larger long-term goals that they can actually like achieve and they can complete, as well as this fact thing. And so what we do to build long-term memory of users, we do a factual extraction where we extract the facts from the conversation and then put them into our memory system and then recall the most relevant facts through RAG every given time. So it's kind of like knowledge. We're also building this like factual memory of users. So even if their chats go outside the context window, we've pretty much pulled all of the facts that they may have been said, like, oh, so and so has a red car, so and so just bought a DGOS NFT. Like we can pull all that stuff out, and then it'll continue to be there for a long time, even after the conversation's gotten too long for the context window. So these are, and the goal evaluator evaluates if the goal has been updated, basically. And so these don't update every time. They can just run every 10 messages or whatever you want. But you can have evaluators here. So that combination of providers to inject context, actions for the agent to do stuff, and evaluators to see like how it went or how it's going and to build a larger model of the user or the situation, are how you can build like really, really complex bots. Like I'm talking to somebody today who's like, well, the character file is cool, but all of my information is in an Obsidian and it's so much more complex and I just don't think I can like put it down to this character file. Like, well, that's a great use case for like an Obsidian provider, right? You could just connect your Obsidian as a provider into this, and then it will just, you could add. Obsidian has pretty good vector search integration and some other stuff, and graph traversal. So like, as long as you have it solved on that side, you'd be able to like pull your information in dynamically. So yeah. So do you guys have any questions or anything about this that I could kind of help to elucidate for you?
That actually answered a bunch of the questions that I still had about it. Like I jumped in, obviously I'm, you know, used to using the .env file for my secret. So I was like using that, and then we jumped on the call that one day and you were like, oh bro, you should have secrets in your character. But I'm still not, so I still haven't run this with like a local model. I'm on a laptop too. So are there any like good local models that don't use CUDA?
This one does and doesn't use CUDA. This will run without CUDA, but I find that when I run it on my MacBook, I can't do anything else. It really uses my computer. So, because it's unified memory, so it's using like all the memory it can get. Yeah, it's very smart. It can actually offload layers onto CPU, so it's pretty much going to use as much GPU as you can give it. And it'll run on a MacBook. I will, after we conclude here, I'm going to sit down and just make sure that local and opening, like everything is running really cleanly. And I've got a few PRs I got to pull in to make sure that's good. But yeah, it should run anywhere. That being said, it's a lot faster to develop with OpenAI, just because it works instantly.
Well, fuck yeah. I mean, that's that's exactly what I was hoping for. Thank you so much for that. And I'm definitely curious. Like, I'm sure somebody in here on the Raid Guild side and just community members probably have some questions. So please, guys, feel free to unmute and ask any questions you might have.
Hey, could you talk a second about like adding a secret to one of the characters? You don't have to like show one that you've already set up, but like what you would do if you
Yeah,
were going to
absolutely.
add. Awesome.
So the reason that we're doing that is because so let's say you want them all to have the same OpenAI API key. You could put that in your .env and just make sure that you don't have any like blank OpenAI API key or anything in your secrets, right? So if I have a .env that has OpenAI API key, I don't think I can open my env because it probably does have that. Then I can just leave that in the env. But for like a character, like if I want to go to pmarca again, I could also put it here, OpenAI API key. So the way that it works in the code is that it checks for the character secret first, and then it checks for the environment secret second. So this is kind of like an override of the secrets that are in the environment variables. The main things you're going to want to override are going to be like, username, password, Discord, and Twitter and Telegram bot token, like all that kind of stuff. But you can also put in the credentials for the AI models here as well. But if there's any, you could. It makes sense to you probably if you understand the cascading thing. So
Awesome. Makes sense.
there's a secrets. Put the secrets in the secrets. Pretty much it.
So one more quick question. There's you can designate models in the character file, but you can also designate models in the clients. And I believe that the client model overrides the character model, but is that true?
So we just changed it. So now instead of having a model, you're going to pass a model provider. And this model provider is going to load like a default model. So if I go to like Llama Cloud, and I just look at the model providers, let's see, which will be in models.ts. These are all the different models. And then inside of here, each one has like specific settings, as well as the name of the model that it uses when you call the small, medium, large, or embedding model. So we now have this is brand new, and you probably didn't see this before, Kyle, because like this just shipped. We have a model class, so that if you have something where you want to use a small model or a medium model, you can decide that in your code, but you don't have to worry about the specific model, and that allows us to like update this as the new models drop and stuff. So you don't have to update all your code. So if you say I want to use OpenAI, yeah, it uses one of these models.
when you say it just shipped, you mean like today?
Yeah, like 2 hours ago. Or last night or something, yeah. But that's like the main change was this was the ugliest part of our code was that we had all these model calls everywhere. So now it's all unified into models.ts. If you want to add a new model, you could add open router, for example. It's a very popular option. You would add it here and you just add another entry in models. I love the class.
Nice. So you guys you made a model manager essentially. So kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
one of the things I've really been thinking about with this is that clients and characters definitely could use like a management system for those things. But having a model
100%.
manager also makes sense.
This was the worst part of the code. And I think I am the janitor, right? So if you guys are going through and installing this, and there's something that you absolutely think sucks and hate, I probably agree with you. It's just like hasn't been my priority because I haven't had anybody telling me that that is the thing they hate the most. So like I love that feedback and it really aligns us around focusing on what we can give to the community to like fix. So this was a big thing that everybody was struggling with. It was like the hardest annoying thing was like I have to put different API keys in different places. Um, so yeah, so this is like a huge update, right? And if you have anything more like that, like I'm all ears. I need that feedback. And we have a good dev team now that can take this. So it's not just me sitting here, but definitely send it to me so that I can understand it.
Are you using a fine-tuned LLM, or is it just like stock closed source?
Got you. So for Spartan, we're using Meta Llama 405B on together.xyz or Together AI now. They changed it. So the deal is, if you want to fine tune, I would really recommend using Together. There's a lot of options, but you can pretty much just make a JSON-L file of your fine tune data, which is going to be like input outputs. And then you upload it with a command line and they train it for you. It literally is like a one-line thing, and then your model is trained, and they tell you when it's done, and then you can run it from their cloud by just changing the endpoint. If you want to, yeah, so I would really recommend checking this out and checking Together fine tuning. And so we're about to release a whole pipeline on how to do this to make this really easy. But like, if you could do like this is how you fine tune models now. You just paste this in and you change a couple of things, and that's it. It's like stupidly easy. Yep. And I think especially if you're doing more like cutesy characters that don't have to be like stupidly knowledgeable about the market or something, I'd really recommend a smaller model fine tune. It's just gonna be way cheaper and you're gonna get a lot more of that vibe. A 30B or 70B is gonna be more than enough.
So did you fine tune using like proper trading strategy data and stuff? Did you use that for
Like what do
the data
you
set?
mean?
Like to fine tune the big models that it's based on, did you curate like a data set of trading strategy and to make the bot do a
Oh,
better trade?
oh, we're working on that. So for Mark Andreessen, we are slicing up and like the big thing is that we're trying. You want to fine tune on the inputs and outputs that are similar to what your actual outputs are going to be. So like for him, it's like, well, we're basically fine tuning on his tweets, and what we're trying to solve right now is how do we get a good fine tune that doesn't make him super windy in his conversation, but is still fine tuned on his actual data. But I would generally say that like the way to add knowledge is through RAG and through context, not through fine tuning.
Yeah.
Fine tuning is really about capturing the tone of a character. Really, because what you're doing is you're changing the likelihood of output tokens, right? So it's like like just changing it more likely to what they would say. But we can't fine tune it enough.
RAG is basically better for like context based decision making. Yeah.
And part of that is also just that if you start to fine tune, if you ran too many epochs, it actually kills the model and it totally collapses the latent space to like very small. Yeah. So you don't want to. Yeah. It's very much an art.
Balance.
Yeah, and also in that regard, like fine tuning smaller models is better because your iteration time is so much faster, and you can just get confirmation if it's good or not. And I'd really recommend fine tuning a small model, and then like if you want a smarter model with the same tone, you could like fine tune a bigger model with the same data set, and it'd probably be pretty good.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Cool. Absolutely. Any other bits? Anything else I can help with you guys get set up? Also, if you just want to set up and then like throw questions, we can just do live tech support.
Can you talk a tiny bit about the server setup that you were mentioning that you're kind of outsourcing?
Yeah, so I just have like a small Linode server. I think if you're into Hetzner or you're into anything like that, you could totally just like, or even just a little AWS instance. You need some RAM to like deal with like a lot of string manipulation. You should have a couple of gigs, but like you don't, if you're running this off of a not local, like off of Llama somewhere else or something, the compute requirements are extremely low. So like if you use OpenAI for Whisper and you use Together XYZ for your like main model, then you will, you could run this on like a small instance on AWS basically.
Cool.
I don't have anything fancy. I just have like, I just log in SSH, pull the latest, and I have it in a process manager. So if it dies, it resets. That's pretty much it. It could be, we almost have somebody made a Docker, there's a PR for Docker, and then we're working on putting that inside of a trusted execution environment so that we can actually make like truly autonomous agents and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I think that like the more we could get it all, like many agents run in a single node instance, it's just gonna be way more performant. And just, I'd like to get as far as we can without Kubernetes, but we'll probably have to eventually like do something like that, spin up containers. Feel free to, if you guys want to do anything with infrastructure, please feel free to pull request that back because it'd be really sick if we could, deploy more. And we have a team working on that as well, on making sure that we can deploy a lot of agents.
So I think one of the big things I've heard Raid Guild people talk about is a new client for Warpcast.
I've gotten like 5 DMs for this. We should, and also Farcaster.
Yeah, Farcaster, Warpcast, it should be the same
Yeah.
client.
Yeah, exactly. So we should absolutely get on that. I don't know if we should bounty someone on that today if Jin's here, but like we should absolutely get on that. It would be a smash because I think crypto Twitter loves this shit, and if it's all happening on Twitter, I don't know, it would be really good. And I think we'll get less. I think that there might be a time when all the bots get banned and it's kind of mass culling by X if Elon says that's the case. I'm trying to befriend him before that happens, but no promises. However, we should be ready for that, and we should be like delivering value on Twitter and Discord. I mean, on Discord and Farcaster and all these other places. Sorry, 1 second.